When I was going to Catholic grade school, I took a class called Catechism class. It taught you the basic rules and regulations of our religion. In fact, I even won an award for successfully completing it. That's me, the holy one next to Jesus here. I was a very holy child. Saint-like, almost. Well, anyways, what I remember most was a series of unfortunate events which resulted from my interpretation of one of the sins listed in the little black book that we were all given. Now, venial sins, these were the less serious ones, like lies or fighting. Pretty much harmless stuff, where no one gets hurt real bad. Then there were the mortal sins. Now, these were the biggies, like murder, worshiping false gods, stealing, committing suicide, and touching impure parts of your body. Wait a minute. Touching what? Now, I don't know why, but that one stood out. I knew that impure meant dirty, but what were the dirty parts? I was usually dirty all over my body. Then it hit me. I can go to hell for this? Just for touching myself when I'm dirty? Well, I needed to talk to one of my elders about this, but not my mom or dad. I didn't want them to know I was going to hell. I knew if I didn't go to heaven with them, they're probably going to be pretty pissed at me. So I decided to ask my brother John. John and I worked out a lot of stuff together as we were growing up. I mean, we even tried to grow a chicken in our closet with an egg that we had stolen from the icebox. Well, okay, so that didn't work out so well. But my point is, we worked well together, our two brains forming almost one. So I asked John what the dirty parts of my body were. And he said, they must be talking about your birdie and your hinder. Those are the dirty parts I always get yelled at for. Well, this made sense to me, I guess. What didn't make sense, though, was why did the parts that were always the cleanest on me, when I did get dirty, called the dirty parts? Well, once I started paying attention to how often I touched them, I realized I was doing this way too much. Going to the bathroom and taking a bath. And I was averaging like 8 or 10 times a day. I started to wonder about all the times I had touched them before I knew they were impure parts. And after giving it some thought, I concluded it was probably okay because I didn't know it was a sin at the time. Well, later that week, I went to confession. And I walked into the booth, and Father Alberti was in there. I could tell because I could see him through the little screen. I always wondered if I could see him, couldn't he see me? Well, what's the point? Well, anyways, bless me, Father, I have sinned. My last confession was 6 days ago. And I started telling him all my sins. I lied to my mom twice when she asked if I brushed my teeth. And I touched impure parts of my body. I hesitated for a second. So 65 times. Okay, there. I got it all out. Now I just have to get my penance, which usually consisted of saying a few prayers, like maybe 2 Our Fathers and a few Hail Marys. Well, after the priest said a prayer to help save my sorry ass, he said, my son, for your penance, I want you to say a rosary. A rosary? You gotta be freaking kidding me. A rosary's got like 500 prayers in it. Well, I had to do what I had to do, and I went and knelt down in the front of the church like the rest of the kids and started to say my prayers. And after a while, I noticed I was the only kid in the church. And I thought about just making them believe I had said my prayers, but then I'd have to confess that too, and God only knows what the punishment would be for that. Well, I made it about halfway through the rosary, and nuns showed up out of nowhere. Nuns were known to do that. They were like ninjas. They were pretty scary creatures. Anyways, now what, I thought to myself. Why aren't you at lunch, she asked. I'm doing my penance, sister. Then she said something I never would have expected. That's enough now. Go to lunch. Could she do this? Could she let me off without Father Alberti's okay? And then I suddenly remembered as a cold chill went down my spine. Never, ever question a nun's authority. Never. Suicide. And I'm certainly not going to argue with her. I already have enough scars. So I said, thank you, sister. Don't thank me. Just go, she snapped back. Well, I made my way out of the church and to the stairs leading down to the cafeteria. Luckily, there was only about a half a dozen pale-skinned slow eaters that knew I must have murdered someone in order to receive such a stiff penance from the priest. And when I got outside, the bell was already ringing, which was a good thing because I'm pretty sure some kids were staring at me, the big sinner. Well, when I got home from school later that day, I didn't have anything to do except homework, so I went up to my bedroom to play. I didn't care much for sports. I preferred more academic studies, like dropping things out of a second-story window to see what would happen to them. Well, as I was leaning out the window with one hand resting on the windowsill, all of a sudden the window came down on top of my hand. As I was screaming and trying to get the window open with my free hand, I immediately thought to myself, why is God punishing me? It's got to be because I didn't finish that rosary. So I pulled my hand out of there and imagined it was probably going to be all puffy and swollen up, big red throbbing tips like in the cartoons. And as it turns out, it was okay. It was, just a little painful. Well, I went into our closet with my rosary, took it out of its little leather pouch, and finished my prayers. And for the rest of the week, I did my best not to touch my impure parts. I had it down to 4 or 5 times a day, and I thought I could reduce that number even further with the use of tissue paper and popsicle sticks used like a shoehorn to help me get the little guy out of my fly, and then using the tissue paper to help me aim. Well, by the end of the week, I had only actually touched impure body parts 28 times. I wish I'd thought about using the popsicle sticks earlier. Well, next time I went to confession, I was nervous, but confident I'd receive a much lesser sentence, considering my progress, I entered the booth, and I noticed it's Father Alberti again. He used to be my favorite priest, till last week. I told him I touched impure parts of my body 28 times last week. And he asked me, is that all you have to confess, my son? I said, yes, Father. Walter, exactly what do you mean when you say you touched impure parts of your body? I knew it. I knew he could see who I was. What's the point of having a sliding door and a cloth or any of that crap? Anyway, what a jip. Well, now he's probably going to tell my mom and dad that I'm going to hell. So anyways, I explained to him how hard it was not to touch these parts when I'm going tinkle or taking a bath or scratching my butt. And he says, Walter, you don't have to confess that. But Father, why does it say it's a sin in the confessional book? Oh, you'll learn about that in the 8th grade, he says. Well, I don't know if the priest lied to me or if I was just absent from school on that crucial day, but I must say nobody ever told me anything about impure parts in the 8th grade. In fact, I didn't even learn the facts of life till after 8th grade. My first bit of information came from some dirty nude pictures me and a friend found in somebody's garbage can. Ugh, we had 8 kids in our family, and I was very upset to find out that my parents had done such a grotesque thing 8 times. Ugh. Well, anyways, Father Alberti let me off scot-free on the unique stuff, on the impure stuff, I should say, this time. I thought about asking for credit for the rosary, but I thought maybe I'd best not push my luck too far, Well, later on in my life, I eventually did properly learn the way to commit the sin of touching my impure parts and those of my lovers. But by this time, I had somehow forgotten it was a sin. I've heard say that if you touch your impure body parts too much, that you'll go blind. Well, I already wear trifocals and... Oh, wait a minute. Well, anyways, I'm not too concerned about it, because even in the dark I can find them. Heck, even if they're not mine. Uh-oh. I hope Father Alberti's not watching this. Oh, boy. He sees this, he's probably going to want this thing back. Hey, I got to get out of here. We'll see you later.